FNAF Security Breach is about to expand themselves in absolutely massive ways. We are finally able to talk about more console ports, a new game patch, and even a physical collector's edition. Also, make sure to join my Discord, link in the description. I'll be talking there right now. So the first thing I want to get out of the way is the console port news. So for a while, if you weren't aware, everybody was theorizing that this game was going to be coming to other consoles soon. When Security Breach first launched, the only consoles it was available to were PlayStation consoles. And the reason for this is because PlayStation had a contract with Five Nights at Freddy's, so upon release, the game was on computers, of course, but in terms of consoles, you had to get a PlayStation. The obvious goal of this was to get more people to buy PlayStation consoles, which is weird considering this was during the peak of just not being able to buy them anyway, but whatever. Anyway, we finally got ourselves the very first console port announcement for FNAF Security Breach. What could it be? Is it coming to Xbox? Nintendo Switch? No, it's the Stadia. So yes, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach is going to be ported for the very first time onto the freaking Stadia of all things. The reason for this is pretty unclear. I mean, they must have just decided they wanted this to be on Stadia, but what confuses me about this is that Stadia just works really weird. Even though the Stadia is technically Google's own console that you can just go and buy, although all it is actually a Google Play and a controller. What's super weird is that Stadia can realistically be played in pretty much every environment. It can be used on computers, the actual mentioned consoles, and well, mobile. Yeah, so you can download Stadia and play some games on mobile. So does that mean Security Breach is actually indirectly having a mobile port? I mean, I guess it's possible. Generally, I avoid Stadia just because it's not really the greatest console, so I'm no professional, but this should technically mean that there could be a mobile port coming. The only reason why this is a big deal is because, let's be real, there is no way you could hold Security Breach on mobile or even try to play the game. I mean, it can hardly run on PlayStation 4. This isn't even considering the fact that Security Breach is nearly 100 gigabytes as of right now, so even the Google Play itself probably would have a lot of problems just downloading the game, let alone trying to play it. I'm not sure exactly how well this is going to work out, but hey, I'm going into it with an open mind, and we will see how this game plays on significantly smaller devices than I feel like it's ready for. In terms of release dates for this new port, all that we know right now is that it's coming soon, but I imagine it should be sometime soon because they bothered to announce it when nobody was really sitting there begging for the Security Breach Stadia port, but hopefully it's in the next couple of months. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the brand new physical versions of FNAF Security Breach, more specifically the recently announced Collector's Edition. So something I haven't really touched upon before was that recently on PlayStation, in stores, you could actually find Security Breach in a physical disc form, which was super interesting, especially for a FNAF game. However, the best part about this is that we had just learned about a new Collector's Edition that includes what I think are some pretty cool items. So first off, we have a special large box that's going to hold all of these items, which is pretty standard, but the first new thing is a special kind of casing for the actual game. The case is going to have a clean metal-like design on the outside, while on the inside there's some cool art as well. The next thing is a plush of the daycare attendant, but not just any plush, rather one that can actually reverse inside out to turn him from Moon Man or Sun Man, which is a super neat concept. There's a few pins and a magnet, which are sort of awkward, weird filler items, but the last one is actually a figure of Vanny. Not just any figure though, one that is being made by U2's, one of the bigger figure producers out there right now. What also makes this specific figure super special is that the only way to get it is by getting this collector's edition. That's the only way. So if you're into collecting FNAF figures, especially U2's, this is definitely something that is going to be worth picking up. Or hell, even if you like collecting plushies, the attendant plush is also going to be made by U2's, and it's going to be exclusive to this collection as well. So yeah, those things alone make me want to recommend you to get this. Well, at least if you have a PlayStation. Because unfortunately, there won't be a PC version just for the obvious reason that there is no disc versions for PC games really anymore. But I really wish they had made some sort of digital version that still came with the case and everything, but instead inside was just a code to actually redeem the game, so that way the many people with PCs or PlayStations without disc readers could buy this and actually enjoy it. The pricing of this edition may also be a drawback, because I mean, to get this it would cost you $150, with only 40 of that actually going towards getting the game, with the rest just being a bunch of random items. But whether or not it's worth it is something that you have to decide. This special edition is actually out right now for pre-order if you want it, and the actual release date of the product is listed as December 31st of this year. But I wouldn't consider this anything official because it's most likely just a placeholder that they had to put in, and all that it's really telling us is that the item will end up shipping at any point from now to the end of the year. They just aren't really sure yet. Moving on from the more external stuff, we are literally so close to getting what seems like one of the final patches for Security Breach that could hopefully fix everything. In the last update, the biggest things that were fixed were, well, basically everything in the game, because the bugs were incredibly bad to the point where even casual players were struggling to play because things weren't working correctly or they were just falling through the map. Just basically a bunch of annoying stuff that ruined the fun of this game. Anyway, there were a couple things that this update failed to fix that are apparently going to be solved in this new one finally. The main thing that was touched upon in these patch notes was the reduction significantly of the game's size. This, as of right now, is pretty much the only thing still holding Security Breach back, but it was debatedly one of the largest problems. I mean, this game clearly doesn't need to be a title that even breaks 50 gigabytes, but it was reaching points of over 80 on launch. But they seem to be working on fixing this. This new game is supposed to shrink the game size from 84 gigabytes all the way down to 65, with the compressed size down to 41 gigabytes. So there is a significant change that is supposed to come here. And clearly it's been hard to do, because this update was announced all the way in March, yet we are halfway through April with pretty much nothing. Steelwool in the patch notes said it was going to take a few days for people on PC to get this change, but it's already been nearly a month, so I'm beginning to wonder if the update is taking a bit longer than expected. Steelwool had mentioned that testing the game after making it so much smaller was what was holding them back, because they sort of had to test every single component of the game once again, since after all, changing the entire game size would affect basically every game element. And to avoid releasing another game filled with a bunch of bugs, Steelwool was most likely taking their time to make sure that everything is perfect, and hopefully this could be the last time they have to release a bunch of patches. The only thing that sort of bugs me about this update is that as of right now, they only really announced it for PC players. And while of course it would be expected that making an update on PC would be easier than any other port, honestly, if anybody really needs this update, it has to be console players and also Stadia if that's going to be a thing. PCs realistically have an infinite amount of storage in a sense, because if you run out, you can always go and upgrade it. And either way, PCs in general tend to have way more storage than consoles, while consoles on the other hand are not nearly as easy to add storage onto, and the base storage itself is usually pretty small, especially if we're talking about the PlayStation 4 where it could have as little as 500 gigabytes total, meaning for some people Security Breach could be taking up like 20% of the entire console in storage. So I really hope that Steelwool is focusing on console just as much, because I feel like this problem mainly caters to those console players above all. And don't even ask me how they're gonna try to fit this monstrosity of a game onto a Google Play thing or whatever. I'd assume it would run on some sort of cloud, which then just makes me wonder how good it actually is going to run. I have no idea, but hopefully in the next couple of months, Steelwool can make some significant progress on making the game more console friendly. Also, something I never really talked about was that Security Breach is now officially on Epic Games. So if for whatever reason you wanted to use Epic Games instead of Steam, that's something that's now possible to do. But something that could be interesting about this update that you guys should watch out for is sales, especially in the near future. Because while Steam does do sales every once in a while, people really sleep on Epic Games and their discounts, especially as games age. Because every once in a while, Epic Games literally just say screw it and make random games entirely free if you buy them within a certain short time span. So if you don't have Security Breach yet, make sure to keep checking up on Epic Games. I'm not exactly sure if they would actually do something for a game that new, but they should at least do sales sometime soon. I can't wait to see what the future of FNAF holds, but while we wait, why not check out this video on the entire FNAF history all the way from the beginning of the game? Subscribe and peace.